Rights Act of 1964 as a huge mistake.
Correct. Sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Roy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
And the word empathy, actually, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage.
So those were the words of a Christian. Those are words that people now can't repeat. They're bullied not to remember. They may lose their job. They may be called out. But when there's tragedies, and this is a tragedy, of course, nobody should be gunned down like a dog from afar and from their family. Yes, it was a tragedy. But when tragedies happen, you're not supposed to forget. You're supposed to reflect. And I was reflecting on the words of Charlie Kirk in the context of sports. This is a sports-based program. And I remember the words that he had for Simone Biles. Now, Simone Biles is somebody who I revere. I think she's the epitome of Black excellence. She's given this country so much glory that it probably doesn't even deserve. She, leading into the Tokyo Games 2021, she had already amassed 25 international gold medals. She was an inspiration to young gymnasts, little black girls, little white girls all across the globe looked up to Simone Biles. She held herself with such grace and such charm, and she created these moves that nobody on planet Earth could replicate. They were so hard to replicate. Even the judges, they didn't know how to score it. In many tournaments, they thought she couldn't perform these moves because all the other girls couldn't do it. She's truly the GOAT. Her, along with Muhammad Ali, are the only people that I recognize as the GOAT. And she was just an amazing, amazing talent. Not a generational talent, just a talent that comes by once in a lifetime. And I remember in Tokyo, something happened. She wasn't feeling right. She had a mental block. It's called the twisties. This is when, for gymnasts, your mind isn't aligned with your body, and you lose self-awareness and your body control in midair. Now, if anybody's seen Simone Biles' floor exercise, in the middle of it, she jumps 12 feet up in the air and she's doing various twists and turns. And if she wasn't right, if she wasn't confident, she could fall in an awkward manner, do damage to her spine, risk paralysis. So she said, hey, I need to take a step back. I need to think about my well-being, my health. I'm a young woman. I got a long life ahead of me. And for that, she was attacked, mainly by white men. But one of the biggest voices that were attacking her was this Christian man, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said that she was a selfless sociopath. What? Whenever you think of sociopath, what do you think of? There's some kind of criminality, even brutal murders. You see it in all these movies and stuff. A sociopath is somebody with zero empathy, right? They do things to harm people over and over and over again, and they have no feelings. They have no remorse. It sounds more like Charlie Kirk than it does Simone Biles to me. But he went on to call her a selfish sociopath. He said that she was weak. He said that America is building weak people like Simone Biles. And he said that she was a shame to her country, to her nation. Now, she had already given this country so much glory by this time this man is saying this. So it's like, what are you doing? And I know what he was doing. It's what all white nationalists do. They try to bring down black excellence any chance they get, and this was his opportunity. And you can see the hypocrisy in all of this, because if you're somebody like myself who's done a lot of research, who's know a lot about sports, mental blocks and challenges with mental illness has plagued athletes for a long time. There was a golfer, Ben Hogan. Everybody in golf knows this man. They all try to emulate his swing. He had a beautiful swing. But towards the end of his career, he developed this affliction, this mental block. They called it the yips. And he couldn't make 2-foot putts. You know, he started shaking. This guy could hit it off the fairway 200 yards straight down the middle, but he couldn't hit putts that were 2 feet. I remember Steve Sachs. He's an all-star second baseman. This guy was nice. Played for the Dodgers, played for the Yankees. And he had this thing, all of a sudden, he couldn't throw to first base. And it happens a lot throughout the years. Knobloch, after him, same kind of affliction. He couldn't throw it to first base. The Mets, they had a catcher. His name was Mackie Sasser. Dude was a pretty good hitting catcher, but he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher. It was a sad thing to see, and it was the demise of his career. All those guys, all white guys, they were not called weak. They weren't called selfish sociopaths. They weren't ashamed to their nation. They were just athletes battling mental illness, human condition. But like I said in the past, some of these black athletes, they aren't viewed as human, you know? They're just there for entertainment. No matter what condition Simone Biles was in, you know, Charlie Kirk expected her to perform for his entertainment. He didn't care that she was risking paralysis. He didn't care at all.
I don't know what she's been through. I seriously, I mean that sincerely. However, I'm going to say this. Don't show up to the Olympics and compete if you're not ready for the big moments. This is not high school. This is not college. This is the Olympics. It's bigger than yourself, Simone. So Simone Biles, who's obviously a very talented gymnast, decided not to compete in the gold medal competition. Now, she probably could have just competed and just kind of checked the boxes and they would have got a gold medal. Simone Biles says, this Olympic Games, I wanted to be for myself when I came in. And I felt like I was still doing it for other people, as she cried after the team event on Tuesday. So that just, it like hurts my heart because doing what I love has been kind of taken away from me to please other people. Yeah, that's the point, Simone Biles. You're representing your nation, you're selfish sociopath. You kidding me? Today it's like, you know what? I'm not going to do something stupid and get hurt. It's just not worth it. Especially when you have like 3 amazing athletes that can step up to the plate and do it. So you know who has the gold medal? Russia. Russia. I have to go look at these 4'11" Russian Olympians chewing on their gold medals, smirking at the Americans. I'm not okay with that. But honestly, that's where we're headed. We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles. Again, if you want to be, if she got all these mental health problems, don't show up. She's an incredible athlete. Of course she's an incredible athlete. I'm not saying, I just said she's probably the greatest gymnast of all time. She's also very selfish, she's immature, and she is a shame to the country. She's totally a sociopath. Of course she's a sociopath. Andrew says she's not a sociopath. What kind of person skips the gold medal match? Who does that? It's a shame to the nation. You just gave a gift to the Russians. Don't show up. If you're not ready for the big time, we got thousands of young female gymnasts that would love to take the place. Thousands. Simone Biles just showed the rest of the nation that when things get tough, you shatter into a million pieces. You know what? There's a lot of times that you step up to the plate, even though you don't want to do it, even though that it's against everything in your body. But instead, Simone Biles just broke one of the great American values and virtues, courage and bravery. It was all about herself. She's a disgrace.
What he was doing, like I said before, he was taking an aim at black excellence, bringing it down. But you can't. And you know the kind of character Charlie's. He never talked about the redemption story. He never talked about when Simone Biles came to France, she put in the work, she got over this affliction, this twisties thing. She won 3 gold medals. She tacked on another silver. She led her team to the championship. And I never heard a word from Charlie Kirk. But I'm supposed to forget those hurtful words that he said. I'm supposed to forget that he never apologized. I'm supposed to forget that he had never acknowledged how Simone, the strength of her to get over this affliction, to be at the bottom and come back to the top again. He never mentioned it at all. And I'm supposed to forget that because of this tragedy. And again, for me, when tragedies happen, you don't forget, you reflect. And as I reflect on this man from the perspective of a 57-year-old black man, why should I mourn? I didn't celebrate at all. Of course not. I already knew that there were going to be repercussions from this. And shortly after, white men were talking about fighting back. It was probably less than 24 hours, and I was like, fighting back whom? We don't even know who did this already. Shortly after that, historically black colleges were getting death threats, bomb threats. Why? It's a weird thing now in this country. You know, black people, we're the only community that's expected to forget our past. They're trying to help out too. They're banning books. They're banning books in schools and in libraries. They're taking exhibits out of museums. But, you know, here at the Wise and the Woke, when tragedy happens, we don't forget. No, we reflect.